Good evening. This is Deborah Watkins, for those of you who do not know me, aka Auntie Deb. I am a certified Christian life coach, and I am also the author of the book From Mediocre to Marvelous, Get Out of Your Rut and Live a Fulfilled Life. So I'm saying greetings. Today is Sunday. It's been a wonderful day, even though it's cold outside. And those of us who have left the cold, because I'm from cold country, Buffalo, New York, and we came to the South, that was one of the reasons why we came down here, because we was tired of the cold. However, I digress. I am grateful that I can feel the cold, okay? I am grateful that I can feel the cold. So, we are in a festive time of year, and these thoughts came to my mind because, usually my talks and my thoughts come when I'm doing my 2-mile walk, but I haven't done a 2-mile walk in a few days because I moved. And so I haven't been able to, I've been out of my routine. However, these thoughts still came to me, and they're just like dying to be on video for some reason. They're just like, you gotta share this, you gotta share this. This is the voices in my head, okay? I got voices in my head. But anyway, this is a very festive time of the year, right? From Thanksgiving all the way up to New Year's. This is probably one of the most celebrated periods of the year. And I do recognize that everyone does not celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. And I respect that, okay? But I'm just talking to those of us who do. And this is like a big Christian holiday around Christmas. And but I do also realize this, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this talk, is because not everyone has a good time during this period of the year. It's not a good time for everyone. And for several reasons. And one of the reasons could be that you lost a loved one recently, so you're still grieving, you're still in your period of mourning. And but also family structure is dysfunctional and toxic for a lot of people. I mean, I'm just gonna put it out there that, it's not pleasant for everyone to get together on the holidays. And I have to admit that, or share that I've had some of those times in my life. Now, it wasn't the majority of my life. It wasn't, the totality of my life. But there were times in my life where the holidays wasn't a pleasant time for me. And so I understand and I can relate to it, because in this life, it's about relationships. And so I have had some of those relationships that didn't serve me. They didn't serve me like they should have. And so I understand when people are going through things. And I understand that sometimes we don't have the words to illustrate what's happening to us, and we're not sure. Sometimes we're not even sure. And people now are a little more educated as to what was happening to them. We call it gaslighting. We call it a lot of things. And but I thank God that He gave me the ability to say to myself, no, after a while. And I just do one of these, like, to myself, clean up in aisle 2, and, sweep, just get out of it. Now, the other thing that has happened over this last week with me, as well as hundreds of people in the city of Buffalo, is that we lost a great leader, and by the name of Pastor Bishop Brunner, Troy Brunner, of Buffalo, New York, the pastor of Elam Christian Fellowship, and he was a phenomenal leader. And so we're still in mourning, those of us who were his parishioners, and I was under him for over 20, close to 25 years. So myself, along with others, we've had this period of mourning as well. And a lot of people were posting on social media when it first happened, and given their words and talked about how he affected their lives, because he affected hundreds, thousands of lives. He did what he was sent here to do. He did what the Father brought him here to do, and he did it with excellence. And I couldn't get my words together. Like, I wanted to say something, I wanted to post something, but I couldn't get my words together because he's done so much. And even though he has affected the whole city and, people, a lot of people, he still found the time to also serve his parishioners in a very personal way, right? He served us in a very personal way. And so that had me thinking, because that was the totality of his life, and that's what everyone's talking about, right? We're talking about that totality of his life, everything that he's given. And even though we're like, Lord, he left so early, why? But God's time is not our time. But I want to talk about our totality of life as individuals, and what he taught me, and what came to mind to me as I was, trying to process his passing, is that, and I don't have the statistics on this. But I really believe that most people are good people, right? So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is 90% of our character and our behavior is good and is decent. We love our families, we work hard, we want to put our children through school, we take care of our homes, we go to church, a lot of us, or some temple, or some place of worship. We teach our children how to ride a bike. We teach our grandchildren how to color. We nurture. We take care of sick ones. We take care of sick parents, and we just live beautiful lives. And so that's 90% of us, of what we do. But there's that 10% of us that may not be so good, okay? And I recognize that as well. Now, let me put a disclaimer out here. There are people who are not 90% good, okay? And they're diabolical, they're sociopaths, they're psychopaths, they're narcissists, they're diabolical human beings. And so I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about those people. And I say they're 100% not good. And in some cases, maybe they might have 10% that's good. But I'm talking about the majority of us who are decent, human beings. And so I was thinking about the Apostle Paul, who was one of the greatest apostles, and he wrote in Romans 7:15, and he was talking about, he said, that I want to do, I do not do. But that I hate, I do. He said, what I want to do, I don't do. That which I hate, I do. Oh, this wretched man of mine. I mean, he was tortured by it. He was really lamenting. He was like, what can I do to stop this behavior? And then he recognized that it's the sin nature in all of us, right? And and he did wonderful things. He did great things when you look at the totality of the Apostle Paul. And he also said, and I believe it was 2 Corinthians 12:7, and he said, I have this thorn in my flesh, right? Sometimes we say a thorn in our side, but he said, I have this thorn in my flesh, and it's tormenting me. And he said, and I prayed to God to relieve me of this thorn 3 times, and God did not do it. He didn't remove the thorn. Now, we don't know what the thorn was. It could have been a character flaw. It could have been sin. It could have been anything, but nobody knows. There's a lot of, speculation. but no one really knows what the thorn is. But he said, what the Apostle Paul said is that God has given me grace, though, to endure it. He's not removing it because he's keeping me humble. He says, but he has given me the grace to endure it. Now, what do I mean by all of that? The greatest apostle of all time suffered with 10%. Okay, because it wasn't the totality of his life. So we also struggle. There's some things that we're going to struggle with, right? But, and I look at myself, right? I look at myself and I say, 90% of the time, I get it right. I'm showing up. I'm doing well. I'm doing all the things, right? But there's that 10%, like sometimes impulsive decisions, sometimes not being discerning enough, but I'm working on it. And so I am not going to allow anyone to hold me hostage anymore to that 10%, okay? So anytime somebody comes after you and they're attacking you about some things about yourself, just say to them, yeah, that's 10% of me. You know, just like you have some things that are 10% of you, but 90% of me is doing well. So please focus on that. Don't focus on my 10%. Focus on my 90%. All right? So that's what I have to share with you guys. That's what came to mind to me. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not to my channel. And give me some comments. Give me some, opinions about what your thoughts are on this 10% notion. All right. Good night.